He's like my dad in a lot of ways. Once he and I got together, I knew that the combination was going to be magical.
We've had an unbelievable chemistry.
Really?
Sitting next to me right now is the best singer in the world.
This is not a drill. Clive Davis is dead. Right now, everybody line up, oldest to youngest. What happened? Get the biopics out now. He cannot hurt you anymore. He has no power over you.
For years, the mysterious note Whitney Houston gave to Brandy in front of Clive has haunted everyone because hours after she did this, she was found dead in her hotel room. And now with Clive Davis dead, we might finally be able to know what was in that note. And baby, looks like there's going to be a surviving Clive Davis documentary coming out soon, because if the artists are gearing up to reveal what they went through now that the godfather of the music industry is gone. Now, Brandy swore never to reveal the contents of the note. But with the Grim Reaper officially out of the way, she's laying it all out, claiming that the note proves foul play in Whitney's death. Let's just get right into it, because who knew this day would come?
Whitney Houston. Now, I knew you had a connection to her, but I didn't realize, and you write in the book, that shortly before her death, you had a lengthy phone call with her.
I did.
What was that call?
It mattered so much to me because I got a chance to tell her everything I hadn't told her, just how much she inspired me, how much I loved her, her impact in my life. And yeah, it was an emotional conversation. I didn't know it was going to be my last time speaking to her.
Clive Davis is officially dead. His publicist confirmed that the man who managed to outlive so many of his biggest stars died in his home in Manhattan, New York, after battling with respiratory problems. His family released a statement saying, "To the world, our father was the iconic music legend whose vision, instinct, and relentless pursuit of excellence shaped the soundtrack of countless lives. He discovered, mentored, and championed the greatest artists in modern music history, leaving an indelible mark on culture that will endure for generations." And while Clive Davis lived a full life and died peacefully on his bed at 94, this is one of those deaths that have a lot of people feeling conflicted. On one hand, there is the whole thing of respecting the dead, especially with Clive being responsible for introducing the public to a lot of major singers. But on the other hand, he was one of the architects of the exploitative and controlling nature of the modern music industry. He was a big reason why successful solo artists and groups like TLC and Toni Braxton had to file for bankruptcy over the unfair distribution of profits. Someone said Clive Davis taught a certain powerful music executive everything he knew about power in the record business, including eliminating artists who stood in the way of making yourself richer in the end, and about intimidation, making enemies disappear, and not to forget using certain leverage as a tool to control. And Brandy got to find out the hard way that her mentor Whitney Houston was just another person that paid the price for crossing paths with Clive Davis. Mind you, Clive met Whitney at a nightclub called Sweetwater in 1983 and signed her to Arista Records when she was just 19 years old. In the beginning, Clive positioned himself as a mentor to Whitney and played a major role in connecting her to the right people. They also worked together to shape her self-titled debut album, which went on to sell 25 million copies worldwide. When Whitney was asked about him, she said they were at each other's throats when it came to what music she should release. But he was her industry father, and she was grateful for his guidance, wisdom, and know-how.
What was it? What did you see in him? What made him different? Why Clive Davis?
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom, his know-how. For a lot of artists, I wanted the guidance. I wanted to know, what made a hit record, and what made me, special, and it could be any song.
But as Whitney became more popular and successful than either of them imagined, Clive's know-how about the industry became an obstacle to Whitney's freedom and coming into her own as an artist. So by the time 2012 came around, Clive and Whitney's relationship was pretty much non-existent. In fact, there were very few people Whitney had a close, trusting relationship with, and one of them was Brandy. Brandy and Whitney first met in 1995, and quickly formed a close bond, with Whitney being a mentor to Brandy. Because of their close relationship, Whitney made sure that Brandy played Cinderella in the 1997 movie, so that she could be her literal godmother, and they could spend more time together. So when Whitney walked onto the set when Brandy was having an interview with Monica and Clive Davis, everyone thought she had shown up just to show her support. Whitney gave Clive and Monica most of her attention as she told Monica that she almost drowned that day before passing a note to Brandy and hugging Clive Davis. Whitney also called her daughter Bobby to give Clive a hug, and she did that to distract him and give Brandy enough time to read the note and react without him noticing.
I felt it. How are you? Okay, 12 today is for you. 12 today. I have to. I'm just saying love it because I can't. I love it. It's my dad. It's my dad. I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Mom, come see her. Come say hi to. Come say hi to your godfather. Come say hi to your goddad.
Once the interview ended, Brandy hopped on a 3-hour call with Whitney, and just 2 days later the pop star was gone. So Brandy is one of the last people to have ever spoken with Whitney, and the internet has been dying to know what was so urgent for Whitney to come on the set like that. Now Brandy made it clear that she was going to keep the contents of the note strictly private, and the only thing she could say is that Whitney promised her that she was going to get better, only for her to pass away soon after. But hearing that Clive Davis has passed away after leaving a trail of damaged careers and controversies in his wake was enough for Brandy to rethink the whole thing. Because what was really keeping her quiet was the fear that he would come after her just like he did Whitney when she wasn't ready to play ball with him anymore.
In that 1995 meeting in Beverly Hills in the home of Clive Davis, who was responsible for the murder of Whitney Houston, I said it. His days are numbered.
When Brandy did the interview in 2012, she and Monica were working together again and gearing up to release their new project, It Belongs to Me. At the time, Monica retained a close working relationship with Clive and sought his blessing and approval before going into the studio and recording the collaboration with Brandy. And reports claim that part of the reason why Clive agreed to the collab and did the interview was because he was angling to build a stronger relationship with Brandy and possibly get her to sign a deal with a record label under him. Fortunately, Whitney got word about what was about to happen, immediately packed herself up and ran straight to Brandy to warn her. And on the note, she straight up warned Brandy to run away from Clive and never look back, unless she wanted to get stuck in a contract and career that she didn't ask for. When she was starting out, Clive made sure that most of the staff on Whitney's team were people he had worked with. He reportedly claimed that it was to get a group of professionals to prop her up from the start. But what he didn't tell her was that these people were also loyal to him, and were probably looking out for his interests more than hers. Because as much as he wanted her to grow and be profitable, Clive Davis never wanted Whitney to go beyond what he could control. When he was about to release I Just Can't Stop Loving You in 1987 for his Bad album, Michael Jackson reached out to Whitney to jump on the song with him, and she was more than willing to go along with it. Both of them were friends and reportedly had a fling, so the chemistry was there. On top of that, they were incredibly talented, and whatever duet they did together would have gone straight to #1. However, Arista Records blocked the duet and claimed that there was a problem with scheduling. Once again, Whitney wanted Michael on If I Told You That, and he was interested in joining her, but unfortunately it fell through once again, with Arista Records once again citing scheduling conflicts and some leaks. However, Whitney believed that stopping the collab both times was a deliberate attempt at sabotage, because there was a chance that working with Michael would give her some ideas about wanting more control over her music. Michael Jackson not only wrote his own songs but also owned the rights to his masters, which was pretty unusual for an artist of his era. While Whitney didn't enjoy the same freedom and the financial benefits that came with it, instead of encouraging a collab that would have defined the era, Clive specifically sent Whitney to Detroit to sing a duet with Aretha Franklin, knowing that it would not only keep her in check, but also benefit him financially since both of them were signed to Arista Records. But that didn't stop Whitney from wanting to have access to more of her music and money, and she was prepared to leave Arista until she signed the $100 million deal in 2001. The label couldn't stop talking about how historic the deal was, and it got leaked that Whitney was paid $40 million upfront with the rest to be paid in stages based on the success of future albums. However, a source revealed that the label was actually betting on the fact that Whitney wouldn't earn that advance or deliver on her side of the contract in a way that would require them to pay her in full. They stopped promoting her albums, blaming digital piracy as the reason why her projects weren't performing well, and were more than okay watching their best-selling artist struggle for as long as it took to permanently lock her into the contract. Before Whitney realized what was going on and started to fight back, it was pretty much too late. She owed the label nearly $20 million, and her career had stalled to the point where it was near impossible for her to make enough to pay them back. On top of that, Whitney's voice was no longer what it used to be, as her lungs had been damaged from her substance use, and could no longer support and carry her vocals the way they once did. At that point, Whitney was allegedly more valuable to the label gone than alive, and they just so happened to have a death clause written into her contract that allowed the label to terminate its obligations and recoup advances paid out to her upon her passing. So while the world was shocked to hear that Whitney was gone, Clive allegedly knew what was coming. And it is worth noting that it was not exactly a coincidence that he happened to be throwing a party at the very same hotel on the very same night that Whitney passed, and chose to go on with it, even after losing someone who he had always claimed was like a daughter to him.
Well, you're a very small minority, because if you knew Whitney better, you knew she was not there to perform.
Yeah.
This was her favorite night of the year. She came out every year. This party was so part of her.
So you're saying that she
so
would've...
that the family, we spoke to representatives of Pat, who was a manager, and Gary, who was her brother.
Her body was still upstairs.
But we dedicated the evening. Whitney would have wanted this party to go on any more than the Grammys should stop.
Whitney also knew it was coming after the first drowning attempt failed, and she had to make sure that at least one person knew what really happened to her if she couldn't turn it around. This drama with Whitney was one situation Clive wasn't able to recover from because it exposed to the world just how exploitative he was to her and the black music industry. And with Brandy telling Whitney's story, folks are finally calling Clive out for the mess he left behind. Clive Davis was a parasite on the black American community in the music business. He preyed on Whitney Houston and other artists. He took their masters and left them broke and penniless. Very few artists made any money while he was in charge of their career. Clive Davis was not a good guy, nor did he do good things for the music industry. He made good sound, but he didn't make good culture. The music industry has been used to deliver a plethora of harmful content to our culture, and Davis was at the heart of a lot of it. Whitney Houston gave Clive Davis so much love and loyalty while she was here, only for him to exploit and abandon her in the end. Not to mention, he often tried to limit her throughout her music career. But what do you guys think about this? Sound off in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye baddies.